أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد يقول الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم وأطيعوا الله ورسوله ولا تنازعوا فتفشلوا وتذهب ريحكم واصبروا إن الله مع الصابرين. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's commanding the Muslims, the believers, to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أطيعوا الله, stay in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger. ولا تنازعوا, and don't differ. So our guidance, it comes from the Quran and the Sunnah. And whenever we have any types of issues in the community, amongst each other, we always go back to the Quran and the Sunnah to look for how we solve all of our affairs and all of our problems. Because everything from the Quran and the Sunnah, this is revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran, as we know, revelation. And also the Sunnah is a revelation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَلَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ, that he does not speak from his desires, that verily it is a revelation that has been revealed to him. So even the Sunnah itself is a revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whenever we have these types of affairs, we always take our affairs back to Allah. All disagreements, all problems that we have, they go back to Allah and His Messenger. We go back to the Quran and the Sunnah, and we solve our problems together as brothers. And we come together and try to make sure that we continue on in this path of the guidance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. This path of the Quran and the Sunnah, this path of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this path of Tawheed, that we continue on and with brotherhood, with working together and then trying to achieve this. And then so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا. So if you start to differ, فَتَفْشَلُوا, then He told you the result of this differing. And when you start to differ, and then this person, he wants his opinion to be the right opinion, and that person wants his opinion to be the right opinion, but nobody wants to go back and know the truth, know the Quran and from the Quran and the Sunnah. So you start to differ. فَتَفْشَلُوا, and then you lose. You become from amongst the losers. You fail because of this. This is the main reason of failure. Not just failure in a community, but failure as an ummah. We fail as an ummah when us as an ummah, we don't go back to the Quran and the Sunnah and seek our guidance from that. Whatever issues that we have between each other, we come together as a community and we solve those issues by going back to the Quran and the Sunnah to get the correct understanding on how to solve this. And then once we know that this is the correct understanding and this is the correct route, sami'na wa ata'na, we put our egos to the side and we work together to make sure that we carry out what is correct and what is upright and what is in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because this way we don't fail in our quest to establish this Deen in this land of this land that we live in. Allahumma musta'an. Then after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَتَفْشَلُوا وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ. Not only are you going to fail, وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ. تَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ, it means يَذْهَبْ نَصْرُكُمْ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will no longer give you the assistance because you're not taking your affairs back to Him. You take your affairs back to your desires and to your opinions. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leaves you with yourself. And you fail. You fail miserably, and then you lose the nasr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All because of this. He said, وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ وَاصْبِرُوا. And once you understand that this is the truth, we have to be patient. We have to remain patient as we carry out, continue to call to this Deen. Continue to establish this Deen. Continue to practice this Deen is going to require a lot of patience, especially for us. Because we live in a society that calls us away from the Deen. Everything that you see as soon as you step out the doors of this masjid is calling you away from Tawheed, away from the Sunnah, away from the obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and calling you to the obedience of Shaitan and the obedience of your desires. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَاصْبِرُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الصَّابِرِينَ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with those who are patient. The victory comes to those who are patient. The victory comes to those people who work together to establish the Quran and the Sunnah as a community. We're not trying to just establish another masjid. We have enough masajid in America. We have masjids in every single major city. But where are the communities? Where are the people working together to try to establish the Quran and the Sunnah? Where is it now? Most people don't even come to the masjid, and the ones that do, they just come, they pray, and they leave. There's no community anymore. We were successful in America. And establishing this Deen in America, that success came because the brothers from before, they established communities. They established communities of people working together to establish this Deen. And they made whatever mistakes they made in the past because of lack of knowledge. But now we have brothers that have gone out to seek knowledge and bring the knowledge back to the people. Where are the communities? Where are the people ready to work together to establish this Deen in this land? It doesn't exist anymore. So we have masajid, but we don't have communities. And this is the thing that we need to start to work together again to start reestablishing those communities. Communities of people coming together to learn the Deen in the masjid, study the Sunnah in the masjid, study the tafsir of the Quran in the masjid, and practice this Deen in the masjid. This is your safe haven. For the Muslim who wants to understand the Quran and the Sunnah and practice this Deen, this is where it happens at. This is your safe haven. This is your home away from the fitna. This is supposed to be what it is. But that's not how the people view it anymore. The people just view it as let's go pray and let's go back home and go back to the dunya. But again, we have to work together to establish this. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the believers. He said, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى بِرِّ وَتَقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. So work together to establish birr, righteousness, or taqwa, obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That the people are obedient to Allah and they fear Allah, they carry out the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they stay away from His prohibitions. This is what we work together to establish. وَلَا تَعَوَّنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. And don't work together to establish sin and enmity between you, because the sin and establishing the things that disobedience to Allah, it causes that enmity. Because it's obedience to Shaitan. And Shaitan is only out to destroy us and get us fighting each other. The Quran and the Sunnah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls us to His obedience. And that's what unity is about. Unity is coming together on the Quran and the Sunnah, and we all work together to establish this as a community. As a community, and that's the only way that we can be successful, by establishing righteousness and calling the people and working together to establish this. But everybody has the energy for the other side. Everybody has the energy to establish sin. You'll work together to establish a business that sells haram. You'll work together to establish any type of haram behavior. But when it comes to this Deen, you don't have the energy for that anymore. When it comes to establishing a community, you don't have the energy. When it comes to learning your Deen and studying the Quran and studying the Sunnah and practicing it, you don't have the energy anymore. But you had the energy for the dunya. But you don't have this energy to establish your akhirah and establish this community. This community doesn't it's not just a benefit for us. It's a benefit for our children and every single generation. Because they have a place that they can come together and they can practice this Deen the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded them to do. Don't you want to establish that? If you wanted to make a legacy for yourself, when you want that to be your legacy, to establish a community where people come together in obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His messenger, that they come together to study this Deen, Isn't that something isn't that something worth giving your energy for? That's something worth living for, and that's something that's worth dying for. Your dunya is nothing. It's not worth living for, and it's definitely not worth dying for. But that's where you give all your energy. And like I said, we all have to come together to establish this, because the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in the hadith of Abi Musa radiallahu anhu, in which he said, "Al-mu'min lil-mu'min kal-bunyan, yashuddu ba'dahu ba'dan, wa shabbaka bayna asabi'ihi." And this hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. So here the Prophet ﷺ said in this hadith, reported by Abi Musa, he said that a believer to another believer is like a what? Like a bunyan, like a building, like a construction. That each part of that building strengthens the other part. We find our strength when we work together. When we try to establish this obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, working together, we're going to find that strength. And we find the motivation to do the things that we wouldn't be able to do if we were sitting alone. When you're in the masjid with a group of people studying the Deen, memorizing the Quran, memorizing hadith, you find ease. You find ease with this. But when you try to sit alone and do it, you find difficulty. And that's why this is the importance of this community, the importance of coming together to establish this righteousness. So we find that ease and we work together to motivate each other, to feed off of one another, to work together to all of us so we can be righteous. We advise one another. If we see our brother messing up, we try to take him by the hand and we want good for him. Just like the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith of Anas radiallahu anhu, he said, "La yu'minu ahadukum hatta yuhibba li akhihi ma yuhibbu li nafsihi." He said that no one from amongst you truly believes. And he doesn't mean that he doesn't believe at all, but he hasn't reached the level of kamal, like the completion of his iman, until he wants for his brother what he wants for himself. But now we live in a society where you're no longer concerned about your brother. Your brother can starve to death, but as long as you're eating today, you don't care. That's why we're failing. That's why we don't have communities anymore, because we're not working together. We're not trying to establish anything. We're just trying to do our 5 daily prayers and go on about our business. Again, where is that energy at? Where is the energy? So just like the Prophet ﷺ said, he said that what? That we all come together like a structure and we strengthen each other. And he even emphasized this by what? By interlacing his fingers together and saying, وَشَبَّكَ بَيْنَ أَصَابِعِهِ, and interlacing to show the strength that when we come together and we work together to establish the obedience to Allah, then you look what we can achieve. Look what we can achieve. Get your minds out of the gutter. You're sitting here thinking about the dunya. And stop thinking about the dunya. Stop worrying about the past and stop worrying about all the things that have transpired before. Start focusing on what we need to do today and into the future to establish something for us, something for our kids, and something for all the Muslim generations to come. Again, if that's what you want to leave, but this is your sadaqatun jariyah. This is what you can leave behind. If you wanted to leave behind something that you know that you can continue getting a reward for even when you're in your grave, this is what you struggle for. Struggle to establish this community where the people can continue to benefit generation after generation. And you're like the pioneers of that, so you can what? You can get the reward. But we can't do this with empty masajid. We can't do this when the classes are being established to teach the sunnah and they're empty. We have to come together and we have to work together. Fill these masajid up. Get that energy that you have for the dunya, or the energy that you had in the past for the dunya, and start putting that energy towards establishing something now. And also it came in another hadith to show the importance of brotherhood and the importance of working together. And in Nu'man ibn Bashir radiyallahu anhuma, and he said, مَثَلُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ فِي تَوَادِهِمْ وَتَرَاحُمِهِمْ وَتَعَاطُفِهِمْ كَمَثَلِ الْجَسَدِ إذا اشتكى منه عضو تداعى له سائر الجسد بالسهر والحمى. This hadith is also in Bukhari and Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ said, the hadith reported by Nu'man ibn Bashir, he said the example of the believer and what? في تَوَادِهِمْ, and their love for one another, وَتَرَاحُمِهِمْ, and their mercy that they have for one another, وَتَعَاطُفِهِمْ, and the sympathy that they have for one another. كَمَثَلِ الْجَسَدِ, it's just like the body. إِذَا اشْتَكَى مِنْهُ عُضْوٌ, if one part of the body has a complaint because maybe an infection or something is wrong with the body, then the whole body starts to feel the pain of that one body part. So you start to feel a fever throughout the whole body, and you have a wakeless night because you're in pain and the whole body feels that pain. And us as believers, we have to have that same type of love for one another, the same type of sympathy for one another. You have brothers, wallahi, they will sit there and frown in the face of his brother when he's giving him salams. Won't talk to his brother, but turn around and smile with a kafir and laugh with a kafir. But he's frowny face with his brother, mad dogging his brother, won't give salams to his brother. Are we going to establish anything with that type of attitude? Are we going to move forward and progress with that type of attitude? Are we going to sit here and progress if everybody's clinging to problems that they had in the past with people? Let that stuff go. Let everything that you had that's personal go. This is about establishing the Deen. This Deen is greater than all your little personal problems. Your personal problems don't mean anything. The world does not revolve around your personal issues. But this Deen is what is worthy of establishing. And this Deen is worthy of losing sleep over, losing food over, losing everything over to establish this Deen. But you don't give it that energy. But you give the energy to your personal problems, your personal hatred, your personal whatever gripes with another person. Let that stuff go. We cannot establish anything in this city or in this world if we continue to hold on to the past. We're brothers. Whatever we have between each other is personal, but that does not affect the love that we have for each other, because we're all trying to establish Tawheed. We're all trying to practice the Sunnah. We're all trying to be obedient Muslims to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those personal issues have no place here. No place in the society and no place anywhere amongst the Muslims. This Deen is greater than that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling you to something greater than what you're trying to cling to. You're clinging to personal things. You're clinging to Jahiliyyah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling you away from that. Calling you to something that brings you back your dignity, brings you back your honor, and raises you up above society. But you want to cling to the gutter, and you want to cling to the problems. You want to cling to hatred that you have in your heart for your brother. Let that stuff go. Right now, we need to focus on one thing and one thing alone. And practicing this Deen, establishing this Deen as a community, and moving forward. وأقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين استغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب إليه ونصلي ونسلم على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said in the Quran, He said, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذْ كُنْتُمْ أَعْدَاءً فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فانقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ. Hold fast to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the rope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down to save you. This understanding of the Quran and the Sunnah, that's the rope. This understanding of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah and the practicing of it and the implementation of it is that rope. Hold fast to that, hold tight to that. Because all of your protection and everything that's going to protect you in this dunya and the akhirah is with holding fast to that rope. That's your isma, that's your protection. He said, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. All together as a community, not as individuals, but we all understand that the only thing that can bring us success is holding fast to the Quran and the Sunnah. We all hold together to that rope. Jami'an wala tafarraqu. And don't differ. Don't differ. Again, differing, it comes amongst the people when people put their opinions over the Quran and the Sunnah. When they put their emotions over the Quran and the Sunnah. When they put their feelings over the Quran and the Sunnah. Nobody cares about your opinion. Nobody cares about your emotions. We care about the truth. We're here. We all entered into this Deen because we were searching for the truth. We started practicing this Deen because we were searching for the truth. We weren't searching for people's opinions. If we wanted to follow people's opinions, we would have remained as kuffar. Why would we have come to this Deen? Except that we were looking for the truth. That's all we're concerned with. We're not concerned with people's opinions and emotions, unless those opinions and emotions agree with the Quran and the Sunnah. So that's it. وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold tight to this. Know that this is the truth. This is the Quran and the Sunnah. And that's what you have to follow. وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ. And again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds you. And remember the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with you. He's giving you this deen. For us that were not born Muslim, we lived an existence of immorality. We lived an existence of just complete shame and dishonor. We lived our lives like subhumans, running around with no concern with anything, with a criminal mentality, running around with women, drinking, smoking weed, and doing all types of fawahish. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with this deen. Again, with this deen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us our honor back, gave us our dignity back, made us a man. That's what we need to be thankful for. Those streets did not make us a man. Those streets made us a fool. What made us a man is this deen. This deen, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving us this dignity and honor with the Quran and the Sunnah, and making us where now we have the correct morality, the correct manners. And that's what we follow. It's giving us knowledge. And with that knowledge is raised people. We've seen the people. They come from this bad background. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises them up with knowledge above the status of kings. But what you want to do, you want to keep staying anchored down to this dunya. You want to stay anchored down to the streets, anchored down with that stupid mentality that caused nothing but pain and suffering in your life. But you're not ready to stand up with the thing that brings you honor. Stand up for this. Stand up to establish this. You don't want to do that. You don't have the same energy. When you were in the streets, you're waking up and staying up all times of the night. All times, staying up, selling drugs in the street until sunrise. But now you don't even have the energy to get to Salat al-Fajr. You can't even pray in the masjid. You had all the energy to make sure that you dressed in a certain way, to make sure everything was right. Where is that energy now? Where is that energy now to establish this community? To establish the Quran and the Sunnah? That same energy that you gave to those kuffar in Jahiliyyah, where is that energy now? When are you going to wake up? This is honor. This deen. Being a part of this is being a part of something great. Now we all strive to make sure that everybody knew the cities that we lived in were the most dangerous cities. Now is your chance. Follow the Quran and the Sunnah to let the world see that this is not about danger. This is about what? Establishing deen, establishing morality. And we can set the standard for the world to follow. But you have to start, it starts here, starts in this masjid, starts with us establishing these communities. Stop anchoring yourself to the past. Stop anchoring yourself to that jahiliyyah. It's over. Let it die. Let it die. Wake up. Wake up before it's too late. The streets have already killed all the people before. You want to die for the streets? Go. That's your life. Live it the way you want to live it. But me, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us, we prefer to die on this. To die on the Quran and the Sunnah, to die, inshallah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with us. That's our goal. And that's something that we're going to live for. And that's something, inshallah, that we're trying to establish. So we have to work together. It's all about coming together with ta'awanu ala al-birri wa taqwa wa la ta'awanu ala al-ithmi wal udwan. Come together to establish this righteousness and piety and obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and leave that sin behind. Wallahu musta'an. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين أقم الصلاة